Hey, friends. Good day. Welcome back to the show, 2 Pixels Off, with myself, Brad Hussey, and my friend and co-host, Michael Janda. We're excited to bring you another fun episode today. Mike told me a little bit before we started. He kind of gave me a little hint as to what this episode was about. He said, I'm longing for the good old days. And I want to talk about it. I want to talk about a little bit about the good old days, but, look forward to the future as well. So that's just a little hint as to what we're going to be doing here. I promise it's going to be funny. There's going to be some jokes. It's going to be a great time.
Welcome to 2 Pixels Off, a podcast for creative entrepreneurs.
As always, appreciative of you listening, and want to send a special shout out to our friends over at Wix Studio. Really excited to have them on board here with the show. Allows us to enjoy ourselves and to deliver as much value in a jovial and fun way, which is kind of our style. US and Canada jokes are aplenty, and they come naturally to us. It's great.
And there's plenty to joke about. There is plenty of material in 2024 to joke about. Yes,
absolutely. So special shout out to Wix Studio for allowing for that to happen, and for all of our listeners. Really appreciate you as well, and all your comments. Love that. Keep it up. So today, like I said a little bit just a few moments ago, Mike wanted to do a little bit of a throwback, and he's gonna. I wasn't prepared for this episode, and I think that's what's gonna make this maybe a little interesting. So Mike's got a little special something queued up for us. And I'm just going to, react accordingly and see what we've got. So what I know is, well, you know what? How about you tell us, what do we got today?
What we have today, okay, we've done a lot of educational content, and this will be education. It'll help people understand marketing and sales and digital marketing, especially in the internet, world that we live in. It'll help you understand that better. But I started thinking this morning, I was like, man, we should do an episode that is on the history of the internet with a little status of where we are in the evolution of the internet in the world, and then some speculative predictions about the future of the internet, which are not my predictions. I found some stuff from a bunch of futurists that pride themselves in looking at advancements in technology, information, biology, and things, and predicting what's going to happen in the future. Brad, did you ever see the movie Minority Report? Tom Cruise, like 20 something years ago.
I don't know if I've seen it, but I definitely know of it.
You need to see it. Yeah, you need to see it. It's a great movie. So they made this movie based on these futurists in specific expertise. They went and had this like retreat out in the woods somewhere, rented a house or whatever. And their goal was to just invent what the future would be. And the future that they invented had the self-driving cars and the hovering cars and the multi-level freeways and things, and ads. When you walk into the Gap, there's this scene with Tom Cruise where he walks into the Gap and the person says, "Good afternoon, Mr. Whatever," and calls him by name. And then, "Can I interest you in the pants that you bought last week or whatever? Need another pair or something?" But it's a digital person that's speaking to them. And that's just an example of what's already happening. I mean, we don't have the virtual robot speaking to us that way, but the AI inside of Amazon is going and deciding what they should promote to us based on our purchase histories from before. So I think that we're seeing so much of this future just unraveling for us right now. And then when you take AI in the last couple of years and the boom in what that's causing in change, it's some interesting stuff. And you go back, the internet is mostly in my lifespan. Sadly, I'm 52 years old, and I was born in 1972. And the beginning of the internet was only like a decade before that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into a little timeline, and then we're going to talk about kind of how things progressed, and then we're going to dig into where we are today, and then we're going to speculate a little on the future. Brad, what date, year did the birth of networking happen in computing? The birth of networking.
Oh, okay. This might sound crazy, and I don't actually know for a fact, but I have some ideas, and then in my mind is going, okay, are we talking like early computing? Are we talking like ancient computing? Are we talking, the kind of the networking that we know today? Are we talking card sorting compute? Like, so I'm just going to throw something crazy out there.
Okay.
Because you specifically said the birth of like network computing. Like,
yes.
I'm going to
Yep.
I'm going to say 1935.
1935. What? Are you crazy? We didn't even have jet airplanes in 1935.
But
you're way off, man.
We had crazy we had early versions of computers before like there were computational devices. What was that? What was that show? That movie about that guy?
Game. The Imitation Game.
Yeah. Him
with Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is in it. Benedict
Cumberbatch. Yeah,
that's the one.
That guy.
Yeah.
He knew it. He knew AI was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
He had it in his. So in my mind, I'm like, that's kind of maybe the birth of it. But probably fact.
So that was like probably 1943, 44 or so in World War II, and their objective in that movie was to crack the Nazi code, so that without the Nazis knowing that they had cracked the code, so that they could basically end the war. And so he did it with this computer, and he talks about it as by name too. He had named the computer. I don't remember what the name was, but I remember that. Anyway, that's a fantastic movie. It has amazing soundtrack, by the way. I have that soundtrack in a lot of my playlists that I listen to when I'm working because it's just so good. It's so good. Anyway, that's a little early for the networking thing. It was in the 1960s was the birth of networking, and the development of ARPANET by the U.S. Department of Defense in 1969 was really the precursor to the internet. And it was about this packet switching concept that introduced and enabled data to be broken into packets and then transmitted. It blows me away when you think about data now in today's world. It's crazy that anybody ever could have thought that they were going to transmit data across a wire in the first place. But now it's being transmitted just in the freaking air, like in the air. We have so much data. It's so crazy. It blows me away. And so for people to think of that kind of stuff clear back then, I think of it, going back all the way to the freaking radio waves and stuff. Like, how do you ever figure out radio waves and how to transmit audio through radio waves? Like, who invented this stuff? It blows my mind.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
It's
okay.
True. Yeah. Go ahead.
So this was the foundation. This was the start. 1972 is when email was first introduced. I didn't ask you that question. I think you would have got that wrong. I would have guessed somewhere in like the late 80s. Email. 1972 was the invention of email by Ray Tomlinson. I have one source says 1971, one source says 1972. Okay. 1974 was the invention of TCP IP protocol, which is like file transfer protocol.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that acronym for a long time. I remember it from the early days of my career in the late 90s, where you were using Fetch to upload files, and it would always be like this, acquiring TCP IP connection thing. That was like the data notifier that it would give you TCP/IP. So I hadn't thought of that for a long time either. 1984 is when DNS was invented. DNS. So now we can have an address. The domain name server is DNS. Now we can have an address specifically to a computer. So now things can start to really blossom and network together. We know what that machine is versus this machine versus this machine. All right. World Wide Web. This one's going to be a question for you. Creation of the World Wide Web by Tim Berners-Lee. Introduce hypertext and the first web browser in what year? In what year? I'm going to start keeping score of how bad you do on this quiz.
Okay.
Years. So I'm going to call Brad. I'm going to put 2 columns on my paper right here. One is loser and one is winner. So Brad is a ... One side is loser, one side is winner. I'm going to give you a loser mark for the 1935 idiotic comment that you made earlier in the show. I mean, it was just ridiculous. It's like you haven't watched a movie ever in your whole entire life.
It's like you didn't open a book with some facts in it.
For real. Do you guys have books up there? Like, what do you?
They burned them all.
What do you guys?
We're not allowed to access information up here. I mean,
right. So,
no, we got the internet and a few books floating around. I mean,
yeah, you do. I was just guessing. I don't know what you have and what you don't have. I've been to Canada a couple times, but I haven't spent enough time there to know. And most of the Canadians that I've met in the United States fled Canada for an opportunity for a better life.
So funny. We have a few up here, actually. I'll tell you, though. We got a few Americans up here.
Yeah, you do.
There's a few places in BC where the draft dodgers went, and they're all the hippies. And that's why out in BC, British Columbia, is a certain few areas that's like where the old hippies are. And that's the culture there. And you're like, oh, that's because of the draft dodgers.
That makes sense.
That's what that is. And so that's what that area is known for. I got to tell you a quick funny story though.
Okay.
I was in I'm already going to laugh at it. I was in San Diego. This was years ago, and I was like paddleboarding out on like Mission Beach or something like that. And taking in the warm, taking in the sunshine. Anyway, there was a guy out on his boat, and his boat ran out of gas, and we were a few hundred feet away from shore. And he's like, "Hey, buddy, this is a strange question, but I'm out of fuel, and can you, like, I'll jump out. Can you just like tow me in, and I'll go and solve my own problem?" And I was like, "Yeah, oh sure, yeah, no worries." And so he jumped out into the water, and I threw him like the leash to the board, and I just paddled in. So we were just chatting as I was paddling him in, and he's like, "So what are you doing here? Like, where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm from Canada." And that's usually the answer that Canadians give to Americans, or probably anywhere when you're not in Canada, because it's general enough. You're like, Canada. Probably they don't care or know a specific area. And if they do, then we'll drill down. So, oh, Canada. And he was like, "Oh, cool. I've been to Canada once." And I was like, "Excellent. Where did you go?" And he's like, "I don't know, like Canada." And I was like, hold on there, man. Like, Canada is a very big area. Like, it's a giant landmass.
Yeah. Is it the second largest country in the world?
I think
in square miles, kilometers. I would guess that it would be. Russia being the largest square miles, but I would guess Canada is number 2, but I'm not sure.
It looks like, the largest landmass is Russia at 17 million square kilometers, and then Canada at 9.9 million square kilometers. So
it is number 2?
Number 2. Yeah. And then US is third to that. So it's like,
interesting.
It's giant. It's a big area. Now, populated, obviously the population is much less, but still it's a giant area, and the cities everywhere. And so I was like, okay, so you do know that you can't get on an airplane and just fly to Canada, right? Like there's no place called Canada. Like that's the country. And he's like, yeah. No, I was there though. It was with my buddies. And I was like, cool. Let's figure out where you went while we're just paddling back into shore here, sir. Where did, was it on the east or the west? And I thought that was broad enough. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh
my gosh.
Man. And I was like, this dude doesn't know east or west. And I was like, where did you fly from in the USA to Canada? And he said, oh yeah, no, I flew out of, what did he say? Let me just, he was like, okay. He was like, oh, I flew out of Chicago. And I was like, okay, good. So we got a starting point. And then I was like, how long was your flight to Canada? And he's like, it was like short. It was like an hour or two. And I was like, okay. And was it a big city that you landed in? And he's like, oh yeah, it was like Canada, man. It was like, it's got the city and everything. I was like, okay, you probably went to a little city called Toronto. And he's like, yeah, Toronto. That's what it was. Big tower. Like, cool, man. Great. Well, yeah, I'm glad you liked Canada. And so it was just, I thought it was funny. Anyway, I don't know how I got on that.
This is your way. This is just evidence that not everyone in the United States is playing with a full deck or aware of where they are. It's not just Canada. It's not just the Canadians who struggle like Brad. He represents the vast majority of the population, but there are smart Canadians. There are less smart Canadians, just as there are Americans.
True. Yeah.
Yes.
It's truer words have never been spoken on this show, I think.
Okay. I feel like you're dodging the
draft
when
dodging?
Was the World Wide you're dodging when was the World Wide Web created? What year? You're going to give me a year.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
WWW.
1972.
What are you? That was email, man. That was DNS wasn't even created till 1984. I'm going to give you, just because that answer was so pathetic, I'm not going to score you bad. I'm going to give you one more chance. When was the World Wide Web created? What year? Come on,
1991.
Brad. Oh, shut up. Are
you
kidding? Yeah,
no,
you
not
got
kidding.
it.
Nice.
Yes.
Nailed
You're
it.
50% loser and 50% winner right now.
50, I had a bullseye.
50-50. That was really good. Yeah, by Tim Berners-Lee. All right, and then the release of the first graphical browser was Mosaic in 1993. Now, Mosaic was the browser when I built my first website. It was really the only thing people were using. It was that might have been 1995, but it was like late 1995, but it was probably early 1996 when I built a little one-pager website in my last class in design school at Indiana University. That was my introduction. And we learned how to, we coded it directly on the server. We would just telnet into the server, code it directly onto the server. You'd upload your files using, I'm pretty sure it was Fetch. I can't remember if it was Fetch or if it was some precursor to Fetch. And we would upload from there. Anyway, so that was 1993. The big browser after that was Netscape.
Netscape Navigator?
Netscape Navigator really took over in the late 90s, and that was it, man. Do you remember, Brad, or were you too young to remember when Internet Explorer came out, Microsoft's browser? You remember those days?
I do actually. Yeah. We had computer classes. Our school we were in when I was a kid, they were really technology forward. We had what was called the Tech Lab, and that's where all the modern computers with all the modern software. We had video editing, green screens, like we had pressure machines. Like we had a whole bunch of technology that we were able to play with as kids, like programming stuff. Yeah. And so I remember on a Mac, actually, it was on the early iMacs, those colorful ones, like the colorful backs to them.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was like my first computers that I used was the original kind of early Macs. I even in my kindergarten class had an Apple II, I believe, and we were able to click away at it. So I remember that. I remember Netscape Navigator and then Internet Explorer on our home computer. Eventually, we got a home computer and it was a PC. It was a Microsoft computer. It was a Microsoft software on a PC. And
Yeah.
I remember Internet Explorer, the early original OG.
Yeah, the OG. We started Internet Explorer was when we started having to test things on multiple browsers. So we would check it on Netscape, check it on Internet Explorer, and you bounce back and forth. Firefox, I think, came out a few years later than that. I know it was after those, but it was by a few years before Firefox Mozilla used to be. Firefox Mozilla was the browser. Was Mozilla a browser before that? I can't recall. Doesn't matter too much, but I got some more questions coming up. Okay. Mozilla browser. Oh, Thunderbird was another one. Thunderbird was a browser. Yeah, Mozilla. Okay, so Mozilla owns Firefox. That's the parent company. Yeah. So anyway, none of that matters all that much, but we are now into the era of the internet that I remember and was most of my career. Built my first website in 1996. My first client website was also in 1996. I charged this guy like $300 to build this website for him. I was so pumped, man. I bought a Samsung 27-inch TV with my $300 when I got it. My TV was $279. I remember. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I can't believe that this sucker just paid me a TV to build him a website. That's what I thought. I was like, how in the world did this happen? This is the greatest thing ever.
Life hack.
Yeah, it was a life hack back then. When you're young in your career, man, you equate what can you buy in trade for the time that you're spending on the thing. That's the way I looked at that. Okay, so the early internet companies, the early websites that really became dominant players later on, there are three that I'm going to give you, and you're going to guess the date, the year that they started. So we know the timeline now. We've got 1991, really the birth of www internet. And then we got the browsers and things in the mid to late 90s really taking charge and taking hold. What year did Amazon start, Brad? This is, Brad is a loser or winner. What year did Amazon start?
Okay. 1999.
Okay. If you bought Amazon stock in... Okay, I'm going to look up this other... Okay. I'll look up this other stat. Okay, 1991, Brad is a loser. 1994. Now, shout out to Jeff Bezos, man. We're talking about www, internet, and the first web browser in 1991, Mosaic in 1993, and Jeff Bezos has the foresight to build this online bookstore in 1994. Oh my gosh, that blows my mind. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Vision, man. Vision. That's what that is. And certainly, I don't even believe that he was genius enough to have a vision of what it would actually become over time.
Yeah.
But having any vision at all to build something like that in that early of an era of an unproven technology is just mind-blowing. So here's a question for you.
Okay.
I got two questions. Number one, Amazon stock went public in 1997. Okay? 1997, and I'm going to look for a calculator here. If you had invested, let's say, $10,000 in 1997 in Amazon, how much would that be worth today? Brad.
And you never touched it? You just left it?
You just left it. You just buy and hold, man. That is the key to wealth right there. Buy and hold. Buy good companies, hold them forever. So you're going to take your $10,000 investment. Mm-hmm. You're going to buy Amazon stock at IPO. How much in 2024 was that 1997 investment worth?
So how much in 2024 today would that be
Yep.
worth? If I
Yep.
okay.
27 years. 27 years you bought Amazon stock at IPO. I love that Brad thinks so hard on these questions. He does not want to be wrong. He does not want to be wrong. He pauses. He rolls his eyes up into the side of his head. He looks at the ceiling. He just really, really wants it to get it right, because he knows that the public humiliation that I will inflict upon him for getting a wrong answer is just unrelenting. It's unrelenting. So give me a shot, Brad. 1997, you put 10 grand into Amazon. What's it worth today?
I will say, if anyone recalls from a couple episodes ago, one of my superpowers is my lack of pride. And
oh, yes, it was. Yeah.
And humility, right? So you
It's
can
amazing.
you can razz at me and I'll sit here like a stone wall. Take it in.
It just bounces right off of you. It's amazing.
It is.
I think most of the time it's because you don't understand the jokes. Like they just go right past you. And so you don't know that you're the butt of the joke. Man, I'm on a roll today.
You are, and
Yeah.
I let you feel that. I let you have
I do
that.
feel
That's
it.
another one of the
I
superpowers.
feel good. I feel
let you-
good. I feel really good about it too.
Yeah. Okay, I'm
All
gonna
right,
say
this is where you're pausing. Give me your answer. 10,000.
I'm gonna say that today would be worth 3.5 million.
Okay, $10,000 investment in Amazon at IPO in 1997 would be worth $100 million today in 2024.
Wow.
How is that? Right?
Can you imagine?
$100 million on a $10,000 investment. You know how many millionaires, multi-millionaires there are in the world because of Amazon stock alone? I don't know the number. I'm not going to look that one up, but it's probably a staggering amount. Yeah. All right, let me give you another question relating to Amazon, Brad. How much money does Jeff Bezos, who still owns a significant share of Amazon stock, which is probably where the majority of his wealth is by far, how much money does Jeff Bezos make per second? Ooh, he wakes up in the morning, brushes his teeth. How much money is he making per second?
I'm just going to say like $1,000 a second.
Wow, that's good. I'm going to give you a winner score on that. $985 per second.
Wow.
Per second. Per day, he makes $85,000. Oh, no, sorry. Per day, he makes $85 million per day. He makes $595 million per week. How is that even possible? He makes $3.5 million per hour, $59,000 per minute.
It's like, does it even count at that point? Is it even money?
No, it doesn't count. That is crazy. 3.5 million per hour. Wow.
That's nuts.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Crazy numbers. Okay.
Yeah.
The next big company that went that kind of captured the internet model early was eBay. eBay in 1995. Now, eBay was the precursor to peer-to-peer sales anywhere in the world on anything. It was like, we're going to take the flea market model and put it on the internet where people can post the stuff that they used to put out in their yard that they wanted to sell, and they put it on the internet and sell it. I think that that's mind-blowing as well. 1995, eBay has a vision for that. And you know what's interesting? Amazon and eBay are two of the few early internet companies that survived the dot bomb. The dot bomb happens in 2000, and there were not very many survivors of that. It crumpled agencies that supported them. There was an agency in LA, because I was there. I was working at Fox at the time when the dot bomb hit, and agencies were going out of business like crazy. I mean, it was so fast. And one of them was March 1st. There was an agency called March 1st in LA, and I loved their stuff. It was one of the first early on agencies that I really admired. And they were gone fast, man, because I assume most of their clients were .coms. They were doing the work for these .com companies that all of a sudden their stocks just tank because people decided that they needed to actually have a stock in a company that was going to make money someday. And some of these speculative .coms of the early days just went away. They tanked and went away. Okay, Google. Okay. Also very forward-thinking internet business. Mm-hmm. What year did Google start? You have 3 loser marks and 1 winner mark, or two winner marks. Okay. Give me a year for Google.
Google. Let's go with 1997.
Oh, that was close. I'm not going to score you bad on this, but I'm not going to give you a win. It was 1998 was Google.
Oh, close.
Yeah, that was a close one. Yeah. 1998 was Google, and that's when we did begin to be able to search stuff on the internet. There were some search tools.
There were some other ones.
Yeah, Ask Jeeves was one that was out there.
Lycos, Yahoo.
Lycos, yes, and Yahoo. And AOL had some search capabilities in it as well. So Google was not first to market with that capability, but they were best to market for sure.
And you needed to know how to, and I think they really changed how you searched. Like they kind of knew, like people want to be able to like look and just like, you should be able to bring it to them. Now they weren't very good at it at first. I don't think anybody was, but you had to know like essentially code and phrases and regular expressions, like in programming languages to be able to find stuff. It was kind of like when you were searching in a library, you needed to know the section, the row, the last name, the index, the published date,
the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah, you needed to know. Exactly, you'd need to search like in parentheses. You'd be like book, close parentheses, plus another parentheses, author / Canada, and you'd need to have all these things, and then minus to have keywords you didn't want, and all these things. And the funny thing is, you can actually still search like that on Google. Like if you don't want a keyword included in your search, you can use these more archaic way of searching an index. Yeah. But we could literally be like, what's that song that goes bum, 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 bum? And it will like tell us, right?
Yeah. Right. It's so good.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the .bomb hits 2000, it was the day of reckoning, and the companies that actually had a potential future survived, and the ones that didn't died. eToys was one. I was working at Fox during that time, and it was Fox Kids was one of the brands that I was working on, and we paid attention to all the kids stuff, like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and all this stuff. I was just paying attention to all that stuff, and eToys was big. At the time, eToys was the big online toy company. Everybody thought it was going to take out Toys R Us, and it was a quick to die. But they had a great brand. It was reminiscent of eBay, if I remember correctly. It's been 20 something years, but they died. They died quick. Okay, so we hobble through the early 2000s with the real businesses just kind of recovering from this .com, and the real businesses then trying to figure out, how do we turn this into a profitable business? Because before that, it was just spending investor money on this unknown internet, hoping that someday we would figure it out as technologists, figure it out and figure out how to monetize and have these things be profitable. So that's kind of how I consider the early 2000s, where the businesses like Amazon, they weren't profitable. They didn't even reach profitability till I don't know what year, but it was like 2010, 2011. They were just investing all the money that they were making back into the technology of the business in those early days, the early years. Okay, so we have that. Now, couple of the big changes that happened in the 2000s, e-commerce started to take off. The Amazons of the world started to emerge, and tools started to make it easier for normal people to create an online store. You had these tools, engines that you could embed into your site and start to sell. And those things morphed over time into tools like Spotify or Shopify and WooCommerce. And what are some of the other ones? Big Cartel. Not Big Cartel. Anyway.
Thrive Card.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like new.
Yeah, there's a ton. Yeah, there's a ton. Shopify dominates that world today, but that all started to kind of emerge in those early years of the post.com.
Yeah.
Brad, social media platforms also in the early 2000s began to emerge. When did Facebook, when was it invented? Give me the invention of Facebook. Give me a date, a year. Facebook.com.
Yeah. So started as a social network kind of at Harvard because Mark Zuckerberg wanted to peep on chicks, I think. It was essentially what it was, him and his buddies.
It's essentially what it is today. The model hasn't changed. There's just advertising. There's just advertising attached to it today.
Yeah.
Anyway,
got it.
Being a little facetious, but yes.
That would be, I'm going to say that was 2003.
I'm not going to score you bad on that. It was 2004. I'm not going to score you bad.
So close.
I'm not going to score you a win either. So you were close enough that I will let that one go. Now, what about Twitter? So arguably Facebook and Twitter, the two biggest early days social media platforms, other than MySpace. Now, MySpace blew up their whole opportunity. So MySpace emerged before Facebook, and MySpace had the market share, man. They had the user base, but it was so freaking ugly. It was so ugly. And they actually sold, I think, while I was at Fox. I'm pretty sure that Fox bought MySpace during that era. Fox bought MySpace, I think. Yeah, in 2005. How do I remember this stuff, man? That was 19 years ago. So yeah, News Corp, which is Fox, bought MySpace in 2005 for $580 million. That's just sad, honestly. I mean, it was $500 million for MySpace, and then to have it just really disappear in its entire user base within a year or so of when Facebook started to emerge, kind of that 2005, 6, 7 years when Facebook started to get some market share. Okay, so we have Facebook in 2004 and Twitter. That's what I asked you, Brad. Twitter. When do you think Twitter started?
Twitter, I'm going to go with 2008.
Okay, I'm going to score you a loser on that one because it is 2006, so it was earlier than that. YouTube, give me a year on YouTube. Knee jerk, so we don't go too long in our podcast.
2009.
Quick. No, come on, man. That was just bad.
2007.
2000. No, still bad. 2005. 2005 YouTube, which is also surprising. I think there's a lot of forward vision there too, man. You think of these people in 2005 when the data transfer was so pathetic. I remember those days, man. My clients were mailing me CD-ROMs and then burned DVDs with assets. Before that, it was sending us zip disks and stuff, jazz disks, to send us assets because you couldn't do the data transfer. So for some place like YouTube to emerge that early was really pretty impressive. And then shout out to Google for making the acquisition of YouTube so early on as well.
I should have known
very sharp.
that. I should have known that with YouTube because I'm pretty sure I was on YouTube when it started, like as a teenager.
You were Mr. Beast.
Yeah, like me and my brother and I made, I don't know, like we played music and we did kind of funny things, just silly things that you would with a camcorder.
Yeah.
Like on my original channel. I just created a username. I don't even know if there's a channel associated with it. I don't even think I can log into it anymore, but it's like, I'm pretty sure I made a video on YouTube
Will you
in like,
find that, man? Search and find that. Not right now, but find
yeah.
that someday, because I really want it for my teasing capabilities. I
That's funny.
really want it. So Brad was the original Jake Paul and Logan Paul, the original OG of
Oh, that's so
YouTube back
funny.
in the day. All right, 2007, we hit a big landmark change on the internet, and that was the creation of the iPhone. And now all of a sudden, mobile browsing became a thing. And that, I think, for me, I would probably put that as the biggest change in the internet so far. I think it was that all of a sudden what you used to have to do at a computer now happens while you're laying on the couch with your phone in your hand. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It's still awesome. We take it for granted every day. We're coming up into the holiday season. This will probably post holiday season, but man, the shopping for your kids and stuff for holiday season, just laying on the couch, just shopping around.
Honestly,
It's just magnificent.
what I
It's
found,
magnificent.
the shopping. Okay, so barring a conversation about the ethics and if it is it morally good or a net negative or a net positive, that we can be consumers on steroids essentially. Like we can just like we could spend money like nuts. Like before there was friction. It'd be like, I need to spend some money. You'd have to get up, you'd have to go write a check, or you'd have to get some cash and withdraw it from the bank. And then you'd go to the mall and then you would spend $5,000. So you'd have to do a lot of work to do that. Now, I literally, within a few seconds, if I wanted to, I could drop $5,000 on a few toys, some new mic gear, some new camera, no problem. And I could do it with my face. I could just go buy that, scan, beep, beep, done. And it will be here tomorrow, or the next day.
Yeah.
And so barring that being good or bad, in some cases it's great. In other cases, I think it's really bad. But what I will say is a completely positive thing is, and this was post pandemic, it really kind of ramped up here. I don't know about you guys, but grocery shopping from your phone.
Oh, I freaking love it.
Delivery. So like we have a few grocery stores that did that. Walmart does it now with I think they call it just like click and collect, or I don't know what it is, but it's just basically like they'll deliver it and it's free as a part of just your purchase. And I think you can subscribe to a membership for a little extra and save the fees or whatever. But it's the grocery stores here, Costco, Walmart, even there's even the more local grocery stores do a similar thing. And the fact that you can just not go to the grocery store, and especially when you have kids and young kids and dogs, and you're like, we need dog food, we need the staples and the essentials, we need this, we can make a quick meal plan, boom, bought, done from the couch or the bed, and it'll be here tomorrow. You're like, that's the best. That is the best.
Yeah.
How cool. I think it's so cool.
Great.
I gotta say one quick thing. How cool, like for my grandmother who's still alive, to be born at a time where she experienced the fact that she is still alive and I don't think she does like online ordering. She probably doesn't know it exists, but the fact that she has the ability to do that, and she's seen a time where you're in an unheated house with an outhouse and farming, to today where she could like use artificial intelligence to help her shop. I just think that that's nuts. That is so crazy.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned an outhouse, and I just saw a thing about money spending in the US government budget. And there was some big giant grant to study AI toilets in Japan. Like the US had it was like, I don't remember, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do a study on AI toilets in Japan or something along those lines. Anyway, the thing that I saw was about, wasteful spending or whatever. You got people in the world who had the outhouse world And now you have literally AI toilets.
AI toilets.
In AI toilets. I don't know what they do. Clean your bum for you, I guess. Something, got the robots in there. I don't know what's happening. I do not have one. But hey, we're all going to have to get used to it at some point.
Yeah.
The robots helping us in the restroom. All right. That's a good segue into one of the other big changes. And this will be the last one that we talk about other than maybe dipping into AI. But the Internet of Things then became the next big milestone after mobile phone devices changed the way that we browse the internet. You have now the Internet of Things. Brad, for a mark to your advantage, how many devices are connected on the Internet of Things globally? And while you're thinking of this number, I'll just explain for people that don't know that terminology. There may be some still out there. It's the lights that you have that are Wi-Fi enabled lights. It's the toilet seat that is now Wi-Fi enabled to like close itself or who knows what it does. It's the Ring doorbell that shows the camera. It's the
Smart lights.
Here you got those. Are those Govee?
Yeah, they're Govee. Yeah.
Well, look at this, Holmes, because I got some Govee right here.
Nice.
Govee lights. I'm changing out some of my lights. I changed out these back ones that were broken last time we recorded. They're now Govee. They're now Govee lights, and I have a little more control than the ones I had before. Nice. Anyway, so that's the Internet of Things. Refrigerators and ovens and my freaking washer and dryer are connected, and can notify you when the load is done. It's that kind of stuff that is the Internet of Things. And it was a big boom, and it still is. How many devices, Brad, now that you've been thinking about it for a minute, how many devices are connected to the internet as Internet of Things?
I'm going to say like 80 billion.
You're wrong, so I'm going to score you bad. You have 6 loser and 2 winner marks. 18.8 billion. 18.8 billion.
How many did I say?
You said 80 billion. Yes, and that was wrong.
You're giving me a wide target. The fact that I'm in the neighborhood.
The neighborhood is that you had an 8 in your number, but you were what, 62 billion off. Come on, Brad.
But I could have said like 1 million. I could have there's no multiple choice here. I'm just like shot in the dark, jump out of the airplane, hope to land somewhere in the area.
1 million would have been ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
My thought, however many internet connected people, I was like, I don't know how many. A billion?
Dude,
a couple billion?
5 billion people
are connected to
have access to the internet. So we're like 2 billion shy of the entire world having access to the internet. I did look up that stat earlier.
So then I was like, okay, I was like, I don't know, let's assume 1 billion people. I didn't know it was 5. That's pretty cool. With like, let's say, 3 to 5, even 10 devices. And so averaging it out, I'm like, that's somewhere there. The fact that I was in the many billions.
Vicinity. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. You can give yourself credit all you like just to make yourself feel better, but you were wrong and it was off. That's where it was. Okay, but I'll give you a chance to redeem yourself. How many devices does Mike Janda have connected to his Internet of Things on my home network?
That is a great question. I'm
connected right now. Now, I have 4 people living in this home, 2 of my kids living in this house. We do have a reasonably smart home, lots of lights and stuff are smart lights, Lutron smart lights. I change out all the switches. So we got a good quantity of that. We got the Alexas and Siris and stuff. And my house is somewhat large. So, that's the thing. So how many clients do you think are on my personal network right now?
I'm going to say you have 32 internet connected devices.
Shut your mouth. That's when I say that was a pretty good guess. I'm going to give you a winner on that. It's 38.
Hey.
It's 38. but I'm going to say that's
good.
pretty good. That's
pretty
pretty good. It is pretty
That's-
good. It's pretty.
See?
You should be
I'm in
proud
the
of that
ballpark.
one.
I am proud
Yeah,
of
you
that.
are in the ballpark.
I was going to see if
Okay.
I can get you to guess mine, and I'm just trying to pull up my
Your
my
network.
network.
See what it
to
says.
see what mine says.
You have 18
I
because your
also,
kids are young. Your kids
They
are young.
They're young.
Yeah.
They're young. Let me see. Devices here.
But you're kind of nerdy on the tech stuff, so you
am.
love that. Mhm.
Yep. Okay. Let me see. I can count. Oh, let me count. Okay. Here we go. Let me see. Okay. Your turn.
18.
I'm gonna give you one more guess.
Oh, come on. 26.
43.
Shut up. That are connected right now? Or how many? That's how many. Because I gave you my connected right now number.
Okay. So you're not
and
counting.
hey,
And by not connected, do you mean like you turned off your Gobi
Offline-
lights and so it's no
offline
longer
clients.
counting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, be fair.
Brad's like
You said 18?
I said 18. Yeah.
19 actively connected devices at this second.
Yes. See, mine was 38. Now it's 40. I just looked down on my phone here. Now it's 40. Okay, well, this is an example of Internet of Things. We're actually looking at the activity on our home network right now as we speak, which is mind-blowing when you think of just being able to do that.
It is.
All right. Here's something interesting, Brad. Now, Wix Studio we're big fans of Wix Studio, and they're fans of our podcast. And until this episode, they probably unfanned themselves with this episode, but I'm going to bring it home for them. We talked about some things in the evolution of the internet today, Brad. We talked about building a website. Number one, can Wix Studio build a website?
Of course.
Okay. We talked about early day e-commerce tools like Amazon and eBay and the evolution of that into self-made or self-controlled small business e-commerce tools. Can Wix Studio provide you with e-commerce capabilities?
Yep.
Okay. We talked about social media like Facebook and Twitter and the ability to comment and interact with other people through a digital environment. Can Wix Studio provide you with the ability to comment, interact, message people through a website?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We talked about the creation of the iPhone and mobile responsive websites and the change in behavior from going from a computer to a phone and laying on your couch and surfing the internet for whatever you might want to surf. Can Wix Studio create responsive websites that look good on a desktop machine and good on a mobile device?
Yes.
Okay. What am I missing on capabilities? Because we're talking, Internet of Things. Internet of Things. What kind of capabilities, Brad? You use Wix Studio like every day and you still do client work. What kind of capabilities does Wix Studio have to incorporate an Internet of Things into the digital environment that you have? Yeah.
Couple things off the top of my mind. They're point of sale systems. So they have physical point of sale systems for your e-commerce brand. So if you want to have a tap, like you could tap devices, card swiper, cash register, a whole tablet that's connected to the database on your online. So your e-commerce is reconciled with your stock on and offline. So that's one thing that comes to mind. A more or a less niche thing would be their automations feature. You can automate and you can connect to webhooks and Zapier. And through that, I can do things like control my lights. So if I wanted to, this is kind of a silly use case, but I could. Within 5 minutes, I would create an automation in Wix Studio. and I'd say if somebody signs up to Creative Crew Community, send a webhook
Turn off your lights
and turn off my lights, or flicker.
Yeah.
If I have a little bell that's connected, I can have it ring a bell, make a sound, flicker a light, change the color of my backlights. And every time I got a new community member, I could do that through that. So the fact that my Wix Studio site can then enter into reality through the Internet of Things, that's one example I can think of right now.
Yeah.
And
I love
AI
that.
would be another one. It has
Yeah,
AI
give me that.
capabilities.
Yeah.
So AI capabilities would be obviously their AI responsiveness. It will analyze the site and other sites for common behaviors and common layouts, so that it would take your layout on desktop and it will modify it with AI and machine learning to redesign the tablet and mobile layouts. AI text generation, image generation, analyzing your site. Also, they also released a new feature just as of a couple days ago at the time of this recording, at their last Open Studio of the year, where they announced big changes and updates and features. And they are implementing an AI assisted shopping experience for your e-commerce sites. So your customers can go to your site and your AI chatbot, essentially will come up and you can talk to it and it will give you basically it'll shop for you based on what you're looking for, instead of you having to browse around. So those are just a few other ways that it's incorporating old and new and everything in between tech.
I love it. I pulled up just now a little earlier while we were talking, I pulled up the app store on Wix Studio interface. And this is one of the things that I love, is that it has the capabilities that we're talking about right now, but it is built to be able to incorporate new capabilities in the future via the app store that it has on there. And I think that that's great. A couple of things that I see on here is like restaurant menus, chat capabilities. So we didn't really talk about that. I was talking about social media, but you can have a chat capability on your, like a live chat capability built into your website on there. The simple things too, the countdown clocks and all that kind of stuff, table reservations for a restaurant, those kinds of things. Yep. It's all built into this one tool. And I think my takeaway as we were talking, I was like, man, this is a forward-thinking company as well, trying to make it easier for agencies and creative entrepreneurs to build the tools or a website that does the things that your client actually needs.
Yeah.
And it incorporates it all into one home for you. I think it's just so great.
It's so
great.
Powerful. It's something that, in closing here, it's something that we need to recognize, hopefully going back in time here and showing you in such a short amount of time. We're only talking about the last, 20, 30 years of this condensed and rapid exponential growth in technology and capabilities. What the early pioneers of the internet had to do in order to sell things online was so technically complicated and so out of the minds of everybody. The fact that I can, in 5 minutes right now, whip up a website and put some products on there and start selling stuff, and it be fully like by the book, it's responsive, it's accessible, it's live, all the tech, all the DNS, the IPs, this, the security, the secure sockets layers, all that stuff. I don't care. I know what's going on because I built stuff for the internet where we had to understand a lot of this technical stuff, but now you could just make it and it's just done properly. And so the fact that we have all of this access is something that I think, especially the younger folks or maybe the folks who've who've forgotten that it used to be really, really hard. Yeah. We have so much access to completely transformational tools. When somebody comes to me and says, like, what tools should I use? Or what color palette should I use? Or I heard that this plugin is better than this one, or this platform is better than this one. I'm like, you're missing the point. That's
Mhm.
not at all what the conversation should be. That's you being mind numbed into just the minutia. Think bigger here. Not long
Mhm.
ago, none of this was possible. And now anything is possible. Do something in accordance with that. If you don't like where you're at and you want to change it, you can do it. All the information is there, all the mentors are there, all the tools are there, and it's all accessible for the same. It's the same tools and access that the multi-billionaires of the world have access to.
Mhm.
So do something with it. And Wix Studio is an excellent example. If you want to change something, you want to create something, you want to build something, and you want to build it for yourself or for your clients, you can do it. So let's go.
Gee, good.
That's
It's a
that's
good,
I think
it's a good pep talk.
that's going to be my summary. And I'm going to get a point for that on the winners.
Okay, fine.
Check.
You're so bad on the winners. You're 4-6, 4 winners to 6 losers. So on my phrasing here that Brad is a loser or winner, we would say loser based on performance today, but a winner based on effort, based on
Heart.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You tried. You tried hard and you
I
worked and
did.
you did your best. I mean,
Mhm.
your best for you should be the bar that you go, because being better than other people is too high of a bar. It's too high of a bar. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple little stats to close
Okay.
out my little summation here.
Okay.
I love how this episode kind of materialized in talking about these capabilities of the internet that evolved over time, and then showing how easy it is to make those things happen today. I was surprised at this statistic. I looked up some statistics for Wix and Wix Studio. Wix started in 2008 as a drag and drop website builder thing. I remember when it started to get some market share, because it was around the same time that Squarespace started to get some market share, and it was affecting my business. The template style builders was affecting my business directly at the time, because we did a lot of website work.
Mm-hmm.
In 2009, Wix already reached 1 million users. I was surprised by that. 1 million just in the first year. In 2012, they introduced HTML5 site builder instead of using Flash for website performance capabilities. In 2013, they went public and raised $127 million in their IPO on NASDAQ. In 2017, how many users, registered users, do you think there were on Wix.com? Not Wix Studio, but Wix.com, Brad. How many registered users on Wix.com?
Go like
2017.
12 million?
100 million, Brad. 100 million. Right? This is a statistic
Wow.
I was surprised at too. 100 million. 2021, they exceeded the 200 million mark in 2021. That's mind-blowing. I had no idea that it was utilized as heavily as it was. Now that's Wix, and Wix Studio are two separate tools. They're under the same umbrella, and they overlap in usage concept. Yeah, like they're familiar. If you know one, you're familiar with the other one. It doesn't feel like a foreign environment.
Yeah.
But Wix Studio is significantly more powerful. It is a real no holds barred, no code builder, but you can code all you want on it as well. Like it's really a super capable environment in comparison to Wix, which is more streamlined for a more novice or a simpler approach to building. Yeah.
The way I liken it, sorry, I cut you off there.
Go ahead.
The way I kind of imagine it here, and maybe this might resonate with some people, is if you're using a Mac and you have GarageBand, it's pre-baked into your iMac. You can create music. It has loops, and you can create music. You can record music. I've been doing it for a very long time, and GarageBand's very capable. GarageBand is like Wix Classic. It's very consumer oriented. It's very beginner DIY friendly. You can really do a lot with it. But if you want professional capabilities, what are the pros using? Some of them use GarageBand, but when they're trying to master their music and then do some more serious stuff, they moved to Logic, which is also an Apple product. Similar user interface, a little more refined, a lot more detail, and a lot more capabilities.
Yeah.
And that's what the pros use. And so, and so that's the same sort of thing. It's like you've got GarageBand and Logic, same umbrella, same family overlap. One's for the pros. And so Wix Studio is for the pros and the agencies and the people building sites for clients, and they need full capabilities. That's the way I see it.
I think that's great. I think of iMovie versus Final Cut Pro. Also, both Apple products. iMovie is a drag and drop, super limited in its capability, but you can make a video. Final Cut Pro, no holds barred, do anything you want with video editing. Okay, so this is the way we look at it. Wix Studio was formerly Editor X, and then it became Wix Studio just last year in 2023 as a rebrand. How many agencies and freelancers created Wix Studio accounts within 6 months of the rebrand? How many?
Let's say 2 million.
Oh, Brad, that's too much. That's
800,000.
Oh, closer. It's 500,000, which we're talking about 6 months. We're talking about 6 months of the introduction of a new product, and more than half of them were new Wix partners, new Wix users. So I thought that was interesting too.
Those are, so that 500,000, that was independent. So that was agencies, right? Not the sites they built?
Yeah, agencies and freelancers. Yes, not sites that were built. It was agencies that were registered. Yeah.
Okay. So then those 500,000 freelancers and agencies, they're making 5,
could be the
10,
2 million,
20 sites.
3 million. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I thought those were interesting statistics, though, too, that were surprising to me. The quantity of users on Wix, just in general, 100 million, 200 million. I mean, I don't know what it is now, but 2021, it was 200 million registered users. That's not, everybody on that is not using it as a power user, as an everyday kind of thing, but that's still a lot of users. And then the same thing, 500,000 agencies and freelancers using Wix Studio. I think is really interesting. And that number is probably significantly bigger now too, because that was a 2023 number that I have in my research here. So that's the overview of the internet. We didn't get to the speculation part of what's going to happen next, which maybe we can do in another episode. But I think for today, we should wrap it up, Brad, on internet evolution. Yeah.
I started us off. I should close us off. I thought that was interesting. You know, I wasn't prepared, and clearly I was given no rubric for how to answer these, no multiple choices.
You were.
So I'd say that's a win in my books. But that's
all right. I'll score you a win. If I give you just a free win for that, you still are a loser with 6 loser points to 5 winner points, Brad. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Well, before I dig a hole deeper,
do better, Brad.
I'm going to close this off. Thanks everybody for listening. Special thanks to Wix Studio. You got a really special spotlight in this episode. And thanks everybody. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.
See ya.